Think your player's talent is enough for a scholarship? It's not. In this video, I'm gonna go over the harsh realities you parents need to face when your son's going through the recruiting process. My name is Evan Mendoza, and I have 7 years of pro baseball experience and also 3 years at the D1 level. I'm also the founder of the Mendoza Baseball Academy, where we help high school baseball players play in college. I've seen parents make these mistakes over and over again, and I'm here to help you avoid them. Stick around, and I'm gonna share with you a resource to help navigate this whole college recruiting process. Or if you have the patience of a squirrel, go ahead and download our 27-page blueprint down below in the description. All right, so the most common pitfall that parents make is overestimating the talent of their player. They think that their son's Ohtani 2.0. They think that their son's the greatest, and that's okay. But having that reality of where your son's currently at and how your son actually stacks up against the competition, that's going to be huge. So overestimating that talent, to keep it real, right? To be able to self-assess where your son's currently at. That's one thing that I ask all of my students when joining into my academy, because without that realization, if you're, maybe it's an ego that's inflated, or maybe that self-reflection, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you truly think you can hit 500-foot home runs, when in reality, you can't hit it past the outfielders. So having that understanding, right, is huge, not only for you, the parent, but also the player as well. If you run a 9-second 60, we need to have that realization on what we need to do to improve that. If we're throwing 60 miles an hour as a senior, we want to be closer, probably around like 90, if we want to have the ability to play D1 baseball. So that is a very common pitfall that I see a lot of parents make, but it's different for everyone. But ignoring the academic side of things, and this is really where I want to share a quick story with you, where it was my first year at Sarasota High School. It was a new experience to me. I was definitely a big fish in a small pond when I was in Maryland going to high school, where the talent wasn't as good. I moved over with my family my sophomore year, and I wasn't the best player. And I also remember there was a junior or senior, I can't remember, but he was throwing 95 miles an hour. And I was just like, wow, this kid's really good. I need to, step it up. One thing I realized really, really quickly, because I think this was within the first couple of months of fall semester, is he actually got away from high school and he dropped out. And I was like, where is that guy? I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks. Does he just not go to practice? Like, what's going on? Well, it turns out he had a 0.5 GPA. I kid you not, 0.5. I thought that was impossible. Like, you have to try to get a 0.5 GPA, right? Well, in reality, he wasn't going to become eligible to play first and foremost, and he also wasn't going to be able to play in college. So without sugarcoating it, he just wasn't responsible enough to get it done in the classroom. And yes, there are going to be the unicorns that throw 95 miles an hour, and all of a sudden they get drafted, right? They're maybe the Dominican players, maybe they're a JUCO player, and like grades don't really matter when you're that good. Well, if you're trying to land a scholarship and play college baseball, eligibility is one of the things that college coaches want to make sure that is never going to be the issue. So if you ignore the academic side of things as a parent, and you don't instill that good habit for your son to get after it in the classroom just as much, or if not more, on the baseball field, that is a common pitfall that I see a lot of parents make. Another huge area that a lot of parents fail to do is the communication with these college coaches. And sometimes you, the parent, feels entitled to initiate these conversations with college coaches. And I guarantee these college coaches do not want to hear from the parents, because that's going to raise a huge red flag on, am I going to be dealing with these parents, or am I going to be dealing with the player more? And I'm going to tell you right now, college coaches like dealing with the baseball player. They don't necessarily love dealing with the parents, because typically parents are a little bit overly aggressive in conversations. Sometimes these parents want to buddy with the head coach of a university. And I'm going to tell you this right now, that doesn't happen at the college level. Like, yes, there's going to be friendly hellos, quick conversations in passing, but we don't do the whole daddy ball in college, especially at the D1 level. So if you think that you're going to initiate those conversations with college coaches, again, raises a huge red flag to these college coaches, thinking that you might be the one wanting it more than the player. So first step in this is really to make sure that your player is doing the emailing to these college coaches, right? If you don't understand that your son has to want to play college baseball, this probably isn't going to be a good future for not only you and your player, right? Because ultimately the player has to be the one that has that desire, has that drive, and really wants to go to the next level. And that starts in the recruiting process with him sending those emails, him sending out maybe or filling out those questionnaires that sometimes these college coaches will ask you to fill out, maybe having that organic conversation over maybe a DM on Twitter or maybe even on email. But there's definitely a right way to go about it and a wrong way. And I'm here to share with you on what to do and what not to do, right? So with that poor communication, sometimes the parents take the lead to make sure that these players don't make any grammatical errors or any typos, because obviously that could turn off the college coach. But in hindsight, it doesn't look good when the player is on the back burner and the parent is the one doing the outreach. Next up is when parents will be sending too many emails too often. So too many emails. This can be also a huge turnoff to these college coaches. It's like, all right, enough. We don't need an email every single week as far as that cadence. You know, like there's obviously a right way, there's obviously a wrong way, but if you're the parent, again, sending out the email, it's going to look more bad on you and your player than good. So definitely be cautious of that. And the last area of recommendation is really just not doing anything, right? Anything. Because a lot of people, what I like to refer to this as, you try to take a cross-country trip in your car, and this is what's referred to as the recruiting process, right? It's a very long process. To some, you know, obviously it's not super long because it's only 2 years really of your son's high school baseball career. But, you know, there's a lot of twists and turns that come along the way. And I see a lot of times, like let's say you live in New York and you're trying to get to Los Angeles, the first ever fork in the road where you're given the opportunity to make either a left turn or a right turn, you forget to turn on the car, right? So if you're doing nothing, right? You're not doing anything. You're not taking any type of action. You're not moving the needle forward, right? These are the huge pitfalls that I see a lot of parents make, because ultimately the player does have that drive, does have that passion to play baseball at the next level, but it ultimately comes down to the parent not wanting to take action for their player. And ultimately, this is you completely blindfolded trying to hit a bullseye in this whole recruiting process. You don't know if this bullseye is over here or over there or over there or over there. You don't know what your next turn really should look like. And that is exactly why you should go ahead down below in the description and download our free resource to play college baseball. It's our 27-page blueprint, and it's going to help you avoid these pitfalls that a lot of parents make in the recruiting process.